How much storage space is in new modern surf boats? Well, let's find out. Now, one of the most common questions that we get is about storage space in the boats. Now, the reason for that is because a lot of times people talk about how Centurion boats don't have that much storage space, or how some boats have way more storage space than others. So what we wanted to do today is show you how much storage each one of these different boats have, and go through and compare two different boats that are fairly similar to one another. We have a Centurion FI23 and we have a Malibu 23 LSV. Now, between these two boats, the reason why we picked these two is they are both similar in size. They're both 23 footers. They're relatively similar in depth. They're not the ultra super deep boats like the Malibu M series or the Centurion RI series, but they've also got lots of storage space between the two. In fact, that's one of the biggest selling features that Malibu talks about, is how much storage space they have compared to other boat brands. So what we've got is we've got a ton of gear that's right here. We got multiple surfboards, we got a foil board, we got a water ski, we got a couple wakeboards, we have 16 life jackets, we got 2 tubes, we've got fenders, we've got towels, we got everything that you could possibly want to take on a boat with you for a fun day out on the lake. And we're going to put it in each one of these boats and then go through and show you where the storage locations are. Because what you're going to find between different boats isn't necessarily that one boat has way more storage than another one, but rather that the storage is just located in different spots. And I'm going to show you where all the different storage locations are on this boat. First off, starting here in the back lockers, you can see that when this bag is full, it really doesn't have much of any storage space in here. You could probably fit a couple life jackets, maybe a rope in there. Not really much storage space when those plug and play bags are full, because Malibu moves all of their ballast to the back rear lockers. Now, like I said, you can put a couple of things in there. We actually got everything else in the boat, not in these back lockers. So it actually fits everything. This boat's got a lot of storage. And so I can show you where everything is located, but we didn't need to use those. But if we needed to, we could probably put 2 life jackets and maybe a rope in each side or something along those lines. So there's also storage bins in the very back of the boat that you can store dock lines or some stuff like that. We didn't worry about the really little small things. We mainly worried about the big stuff that we were going through. So as I mentioned, Malibu moves all of their storage to the back of the boat, right here in these back storage lockers. The reason why they do that is because it opens up the side storage lockers, so there's way more storage space. So if you come inside here, I'm going to open these up and show you what they're all looking like. All right, so underneath the side seat you see it flips open this direction, and that has another seat that flips open this way. So you've got a big, nice opening, but what you end up having is you have really deep compartments that are right here on the sides. So if we pull stuff out of it, you see we've got a life jacket, we've got a ski rope that's right here. Sorry, trying to keep these open is a little bit tricky. A few different life jackets and then some fenders and such. So you've got a pretty good amount of storage here on the sides. The only downside is you're going to be having to climb and claw through different stuff in order to get things that are there on the bottom, because it can get kind of convoluted. The other thing that you've got is you have trash can access, but you have to move all of your gear out of the storage compartment in order to access it. The trash can sits right here. There's your access right there. But the trash can itself is back down here, so you have to empty the whole storage compartment to access that trash can. So lots of storage there on the sides of the boat. Some more storage over here on this side. We got all of our life jackets basically here on the sides of the boat. We also have a tube that sits right here. Here's a wetsuit that's sitting in there. More life jackets as we go further forward. A couple more life jackets going back that way. We open up this seat, it cranks up. This one's got a bulkhead right here, so it's not as easy to access, but we've got some life jackets under there. We flip open this main storage locker, and we have access to a tube that we have located in here. And then we have one of our surfboards that's sitting here on the side. It's not deep enough to where I can put a surfboard on its side, but I can put it laying flat and it just barely fits. You could probably throw another couple things on top of that surfboard, but that pretty much is where it caps out. Right underneath that surfboard, the only thing this boat has in it is it's got a a filler cushion that fills in for the back walkway to make it a full sun pad. That's in this locker as well. It's really the only storage space you have for it if you're not putting it in the walkway itself. So as you can see in this Malibu, lots of storage underneath the sides, not really much storage in the back lockers. Now as we move forward, I'm going to show you two other places, and that is the tower, and then I'm going to show you the bow. So rowing through and looking at the tower. We've got wakeboards here in the board racks over here on this side. This has got the PTM clamp force racks. They do a great job holding wakeboards, and I've got those sandwiched in over here. So over here on this side, got it spun in because we'd actually hit the wall. So that's why it's just spun in this way. We've got a Phase 5 key that's right here. This style board works pretty well with these racks. You see it has the ability to move a little bit, but if you clamp it down, it stays fairly sandwiched in pretty tight, and it's not too bad. The downside is that I've got this Ronix Atlantic that's sitting right here. Now this is an EPS surf, and so the way that these racks work is they've got a fork that comes down and pinches on top of the board and kind of sandwiches it in. The downside is you can crank down on this to get it tighter, but if you've got a really fragile board such as this one, I personally wouldn't put it in the racks. This is the style board that I ride, which is a EPS board. They're really fragile. They ride amazingly well, but they are a fragile board. And so I wouldn't put them in these clamping racks just because it could run the risk of damaging the boards. So that's something to keep in mind. I put it in here just for looks, but if it was me, I'd be putting it in the bimini top. Otherwise, I just wouldn't be loading it in the tower. I'd need to find a place down low or maybe put it in a surfboard bag or something like that in order to fit. Now, as we move up to the tower, or up into the bimini, you see we've got some surfboard pockets up here in the bimini. If you look over there, the Phase 5 board, that's a Phantom, is locked in there. That's gonna work pretty well up in the bimini top. Over here, we've got a foil board. And the way that they secure the boards on this bimini is it's just two straps that run across. It works pretty well for surfboards such as that. If you get a foil like this, you see it really has a lot of play back and forth. You gotta make sure that it's strapped in behind here to make it so the foil can't go back like this, but there's really nothing that prevents it from going forward that direction. So if it was me, I don't know if I'd put a foil up in here. If I did, I'd probably want some additional security or something like that. That would give me some pause, but we wanted to throw it in here so you can see where it's located and what's going on. So lastly, we're gonna move up and go to the bow. So we'll move our cushion out of the way here. And we go up to the bow. So you can see in the bow, we can go through and we have access to store, we have access underneath, but there's no storage space under here. This is hard ballast, which is where Malibu locates their ballast in the front of the boat. So there's no ballast, or there's no storage basically in the rear of the boat, or very little. There's no storage up front here because it's taken up by ballast. The centerpiece, you can see, this is actually where the batteries sit. So they moved the batteries to the bow mainly so you could open up more storage space in the main storage locker, but it eliminates any kind of storage space in the bow whatsoever. You see, this is the hard tank ballast that sits right here. You have a couple really small little cubbies that you can have right up here that you could, maybe put a little something. It's just a little plastic tray that sits in there on the side. Storage spots that doesn't have any like dedicated storage location for like an anchor or anything like that. You do have storage you can access right through here. So if you want to have a feed through storage, you can, but it's just this little cubby spot right here. It's not larger and dedicated. So that's something that you can go through and look at, but that's how the storage is laid out in this boat. All of the ballast is located at the rear of the boat, or a little bit here and a little bit here in the front. There's no ballast through the center line. So all of your storage space is located basically on the sides of the boat through the center of it. So now let's jump over to the Centurion and check that one out and see where the storage is located. And and start with the back lockers. Now, these back lockers, we have the plug and play bags full. So what we did is we pumped these full of air. We did the same thing in the Malibu. But you see in this back locker, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 life jackets and 3 ropes that are sitting in there. And you could fit a little bit more in here, but this kind of goes along with what I'm saying is if I'm taking life jackets in my boat, I'm typically putting about 12 vests in these 2 back lockers, and that's typically where I like to put vests because they're going to be wet, and it makes it so you can be standing there on the swim platform, reach over, open this up, and reach in and grab a life jacket. One other great thing about this is it's a fairly wide storage locker, and so you can lay things out so you can still access and get to them. So if you want to get to this vest down here, you just reach and grab it. It's not a tight little storage compartment that you have to dig down through and dig really deep. It's a little bit more wide and opened up. So the same thing over here on this side. In fact, this side only has 2 life jackets in it because the rest of the stuff we fit in the inside of the boat. One other note, the Malibu 23 LSV has little storage lockers in the very back under seats. The Centurion has these ram boxes here on the sides that are about the same size. So this is where you throw flip-flops, docking lines, other different things like that. So let's jump into the inside and look underneath the side storage lockers and check and see what we got going on. All right, now we open up the side storage lockers and you can see there's tons of storage underneath all of these lockers running all the way back to the back. So what we've got is we've got basically these 2 life jackets deep, basically. So they're not as deep as what you had in the Malibu, but you still got plenty of space. So we got a rope, we got multiple life jackets, we have a tube rope, we've got wetsuit, we've got all of the same stuff that we just pulled out of the Malibu that is now sitting in the side lockers in the Centurion. Now, the lockers in here are not quite as deep. They are a little bit wider than what you have in the Malibu, but they're not quite as deep, so there's not as much storage underneath the sides. But you see, we still have the same thing over here, lots of storage space underneath the sides that you have available that continues all the way through. The thing we showed a little bit in the Malibu was that we had a little bit of storage space up in the top in the main storage locker. That same thing exists in the Centurion. However, the thing I will say about this is we have 2 tubes inside this locker, where in the Malibu we had 1. So Centurion moves and has more storage space in the back of the boat, underneath those back lockers, and more in this observer locker than what you get in a Malibu. So the sides, underneath the side seats, not as much. Underneath the big storage locker and in the back lockers, there's more. Going beyond that, there's some additional space that I can show you. One thing I wanted to point out is as we go up towards the bow, we actually have the boat cover that's sitting down under here. Now, you may not do that necessarily, but I wanted to show you that that is actually storage space that you can utilize that is not taken up by batteries like you see in the Malibu. And so we have the boat cover that's all wound up and put underneath there. It's pretty big. It's big enough to fit the entire boat cover. This is also big enough if you want to have a tube. So if you want to have 3 tubes or space for board bags or anything else, a lot of guys put a big deep cooler that drops in there as well. In addition to that space, we have an in-floor cooler. This is not an option that's available in the Malibu. This is super deep, it's big. You'd have to do an exterior cooler that you have on the Malibu. This one, you've got that spot. You could also use it for storage space if you don't necessarily want to put coolers in there. Some guys like to use this for flip-flops or shoes or other things like that you can store in there. It's got a drain in the bottom that you can just drain everything out, but it's pretty deep. I stepped down in it, it's about knee deep that goes down there. It's pretty big. So that storage locker is available there. If I move up to the bow, you have a dedicated storage location that you have for your anchor, or you can fit things such as bumpers. So I've got our bumpers sitting up in here. We got plenty of additional space for an anchor that sits up in here as well, and lots of other, and actually even more storage than that you can fit stuff underneath the seats in the bow. So there's no storage space in the bow of the Malibu. There's storage space in the FI. There's even storage space when you have all the ballast full going through, even in the bow. Before we get to the last thing, let's take a look at the tower. So this is one of the places that's a little bit different. Now, we move back here to the back. As we mentioned, I showed you the clamp force racks that are on the Malibu. This has got hook style racks. There's a couple different brands that are out there. We offer multiple different options, but this is one of the hook style racks that is available on the Centurion. So the way that these things work is instead of pinching and sandwiching your boards this way, which is damaging for soft EPS style surfboards like this, you just pull this out, spin it, and all of a sudden you can pull your board, but there's just something that holds and keep your boards in, so you can pull it out like this and it's not going to move. But what you don't get is you don't get any kind of a sandwiching that's going, applying a bunch of pressure on the board and damaging it and causing it to dent. So that is really nice. It can work for these as well as it can work for wakeboards as well. Holds wakeboards in just great, just like the other racks do. In fact, it's honestly even more solid. Last thing I wanted to show you in regards to this is the bimini top. So as you can see, we've got a couple surfboards up here, but they're a little bit different. This is a so-long bimini that is just absolutely top-notch quality. And instead of just having a couple straps, you've got a full heat protective surfboard sleeve. The great thing about this is twofold. Number one, it secures your boards better. So the way it works is you've got a sleeve that sits in there and then you have a bungee strap that can go and wrap around your fins. This keeps the boards from going out this direction, but it also makes it so that the boards can't slide forward. You can drive down the channel at Lake Powell at full speed, going 35, 36 miles an hour, and these boards can stay up in here and they're not gonna move and not gonna come out. It's also perfect for a foil board, as you can see. The foil can't go forward, which is really, really nice. And then if it goes back, it's restricted by that strap as well. To take it out, you just pull the strap and move it down underneath the board, and you can pull your foil right out. So this is where I like to stick foil boards. A lot of times when I go to the lake, I have 2 of them up in here. So I'll have 2 foils, big sticking up, and then the rest of my surfboards are hanging out in these storage lockers. As you saw from the main storage bin, there's plenty of space to put surfboards in the main storage locker, but under the OB locker, but you don't necessarily have to. I like to keep all mine up here in the tower. In the Centurion FI, there is a rear transom locker. Now, we don't have anything located in this locker. You certainly can. And the reason why is because currently this thing has got a ballast bag that sits in here. Now, the great thing about this ballast bag is that it's an optional bag. You don't have to equip the boat with it. But what it's there for is designed to be an asset supplemental ballast so that if you're going to the lake with a small crew, you can fill it up. If you got a big crew and need additional storage space, you can use that for additional storage locations. I mean, you can fit skis back here, you can fit a wakeboard, you can fit tons of life jackets, all kinds of stuff. It's really deep, goes way down in there, and it's big. It goes across the entire back section of the boat. We fit all of the same stuff that was in the Malibu that was honestly just as crammed in there as it is in here without using this storage locker, without adding space for a cover, adding a cooler, adding an additional anchor storage location, and having just as much storage throughout all the other storage compartments. So as you can see, it's not necessarily looking at how much storage a boat has, it's more of where that storage is located. The Centurion, which is known for not having as much storage, actually has more storage space than other boats. It's just located in different locations. There's more here in the rear that you can access simply by leaning over and popping a cushion, versus having it located sitting underneath the side seats in the boat, which is where people are sitting, so they have to stand up and move if you want to access those storage locations. I hope this has been really helpful and you can see exactly how much stuff you can put in this boat. To be honest, we wanted to put more in here, but we kind of ran out of stuff to take, because if you're going to have 14 people in the boat, we took pretty much everything you'd want to have with you for a day on the lake. So unless you've just got, I don't know, a bunch of additional backpacks and bags and all kinds of other stuff, but we even have storage space for those. So this is hopefully a helpful visualization of how much storage space is in these boats. And this is the FI-23, which of all of the Centurion models actually has the least amount of storage. You jumped up to an RI and it has even more. So thanks for spending some time taking a look at this with us. If you want to see more content like this that we have, check out our YouTube channel and subscribe to us there and you'll get alerted for new stuff. Also, jump on BoardCo.com and subscribe to our newsletter and we'll deliver content like this to you whenever we come out with it. That will hopefully be helpful information to help you have a better time out on the water. Once again, this is Mitch from BoardCo. Thanks for being with us and we'll see you later.